we're in charge of our own brand. We're in charge of how we show up at work in front of our people. It's important to be able to summarize who we are, what we do, and what we stand for.
So today's episode is going to be talking about something that has been in the works for a while, and I'm very excited to finally reveal this to the public. We've been in sort of a pilot mode of a new leadership membership that we have available, and it's called the Core Leadership Lab. And today I am fortunate enough to have a special guest join us. His name is Brian Collins. He is a seasoned design leader and someone who has worked for several Fortune 500 companies like Google and Amazon and more. And he's going to just talk a little bit more about his experience in the membership and what impact that has had on his life so far. So thank you, Brian, so much for being here.
Oh, happy to be here. And always good to see you and talk to you. This is great.
So just jumping right in, before joining the membership, what were you going through? And how are you feeling about your career?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've gone and spoken to so many people about this, just kind of seeking direction. There's a lot of people in the same boat. This is a tough time right now. And, you know, when you're in the situation, you're kind of in it for a little while these days, it seems. And when you're in a situation like that, I found myself just feeling like a loss of direction, really questioning, like, what does the future hold for me in this like ever evolving market that we're in? And things like that. And, you know, I sent in multiple applications and multiple jobs. Things just weren't really happening a whole lot there. You take a look on LinkedIn and see like within the first hour, there's about 100 other applicants who've also applied. And, you know, it's just a tough market out there. And, it's also a black box. You don't know what's really happening. You don't get feedback on, you know, what action is actually taking place. Why did I get a rejection letter? And you start questioning yourself. But the truth is, these people are overwhelmed and you need to show up in different ways to be able to get noticed. And that's something I was really struggling with. And I found myself questioning my direction. Geez, which title do I want to go with? You know, do I want to kind of take a sidestep? Am I a UX design manager? Am I a UX design strategist? Yes, I'm a UX design strategist, but do people search for UX design strategist? And what do I put on my profile? And like, oh my God, I just want all the opportunities, please. And so you're just kind of like, make yourself everything to everybody. And you're like, all right, now it'll come. And nothing happens and you don't know why. But I know that I've always found, you know, I had the opportunity to first have you as a manager at one point and get your direction. And that was a super positive experience. And then I decided to invest in my own coaching, kind of like how others would, you know, athletes, you know, they have a lot of support. They get paid millions of dollars to do their job and they're supported by tons of people that help them succeed. And that's what I wanted for myself. And, you know, I got some coaching leadership from you and that was very positive. So I wanted to continue to do that. But I also found myself like without a job and, you know, a little money constrained and I didn't have a lot of income. And, you know, between trying to get newly certified and new technology and training and all this other stuff, it just wasn't in the cards for me to spend a lot of money on my own development in that way. And I found myself feeling kind of trapped. That's kind of where I was at.
And I feel like those points would resonate with so many people right now who are going through that similar struggle and they're going through it alone. Right? They're trying to figure out like, how do I up-level myself? How do I get out of this downward spiral? How do I get out of this stagnation of this job search? How do I get out of the stagnation of a job where I just am burned out or I feel like I don't have a future in it? And, you know, maybe they don't have a lot of money. Maybe they don't have the time and the same resource pool as a professional athlete, but having other opportunities, having other resources available that maybe are more affordable and can still provide results. I think that's a really resonant point. So you got a private invite. You got to be part of the pilot group as part of...
Yeah, it was like the VIP ticket. Oh my
You
God.
got your VIP ticket.
Yeah.
And so what made you finally decide, like, yeah, I want to do this?
Well, I mean, the barrier to entry was, I got a glimpse of what the value was already. So that was to my benefit. And then, just the pricing point and just well, first of all, the model, just the thought of being part of like a broader community and, people that are other professionals that are like me, but like in not a LinkedIn kind of way, in a much more personal, real life kind of way. That's a little bit more intimate, where people could be like very genuine and open about who they are and things like that. Those are the things that kind of like really, I liked the idea of them. I kind of found it hard to believe that like, I don't know. I don't find myself as a person who posts a lot online. I'm not super social. In fact, I'm not even on my phone a whole lot, which is maybe very unusual for a lot of people. But like, I'm more of like I like to play my instruments in my free time, or that type of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And I was like, this is going to be a good investment. The barrier to entry is like very low. I'm going to explore this. And you know what? It's like, if it's not working for me, I don't have to continue it. But I was like, if this is anything like the coaching that I was getting before, and if the people in that community are also highly experienced, as I saw from the membership once I got inside, the value was just very clear. And I love the idea of having monthly engagements that address like hot topics. It's a great way to continue like investing in yourself, even if you have a full-time job. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but like there's, the value was really clear once I got in, and you'd see that in the first month, and that's what I saw.
So, just to kind of round out the things that are part of this membership, because people maybe haven't had a chance to look into it yet. So what you were referring to was there is a broader community. So there's a community of human-centered leaders, like people who care about showing up at work aligned to their values, who care about leading with integrity, who care about thinking about the experience of their team and up-leveling their team. So it isn't just about driving results at the expense of the people, but it's about like, how do you do that well and continue to learn and coach your team and develop your team so that they can thrive in these chaotic times and in these chaotic environments. And so as part of that, you have that community, but then we also do monthly live trainings on hot topics like you talked about, or on different skills that leaders need to learn. And then we do group coaching sessions once a month, which are also live. And then we have several other things that are kind of self-paced, right? Like we've got some courses, we've got some online resources, we've got a growing library of things that leaders can tap into anytime they want. And then we're also releasing resources for your team. So let's say you're a leader and you don't have time to develop resources or, on different topics like this, but you want to develop the people on your team to be leaders. We'll provide resources like that for you. And then you can continue to get discounts on things like one-on-one coaching and team workshops and things like that. So that's kind of the spectrum of what you were talking about. And so I'm curious, like when you did join, what stood out to you the most? Like, what did you notice right away?
Well, first of all, I probably had the benefit early on to get like really intimate, close relationships with some people very on with that. We're like, because we're smaller at the time, but oh my goodness, like people were just very like open and honest about like what they're hoping to achieve and sharing what they're skilled at. And like, oh, you know what? Hey, Brian, I had a similar experience with this. And, here's what I took away from it. And I've gotten, messages from people, other members talking about like, hey, you know what? Like we are pretty common in this one thing. Like we should really talk, that type of stuff. And I think those types of engagements are just like so much more down to earth, natural. It's like networking almost like on a more personal level where you have mutual interest in like each other's growth as professionals and really kind of sharing the benefits of, everybody's skills kind of like with one another to kind of help further the other person in the group. That really resonates with me and like how I want to operate. And I mean, you've really inspired me and kind of opened the door to seeing like what coaching could be like. And I was taking coaching from you when I was a manager at Google, senior manager there. And I was doing it because I really wanted to show up better for my team. I wanted to know how to navigate some maybe delicate situations and, maybe didn't feel like I had the support I needed in my existing work environment to be able to kind of tackle those types of things. And then those career development points where like you really want to reach the next level or really want to demonstrate your level of expertise in a particular area, to be able to find within yourself and see the power of coaching to help people find within themselves the evidence that shows that actually you know what part of the answer. And you kind of help create a structure to kind of get them to the right path and back on path, which really helped me and I think helps other people. And I see it show up in the community through all of our workshops and events where we are almost always talking to each other and engaging with one another to be able to be able to support each other that way. It's just been super helpful. And the worksheets also, I've been doing that on my personal time.
I love it. You are an excellent student.
Yeah, I'm such a nerd.
I love it. So, I mean, you kind of hit on something really important, which is the fact that the community itself is this valuable resource, like tapping into the relationships or hearing from each other about how you might solve things. And that there's also this foundational belief that coaching is a really important part of building a leadership repertoire, and that it feels good to receive the coaching to help know, how do I clarify my direction? How do I feel grounded? How do I know what my vision for my role is? But also to be able to adopt some of those skills as a leader yourself and to be able to say, how can I do this and take this back to my team? And so in the membership, it's a core focus for us to develop those coaching skills within leaders. Because, I mean, for me, that was the thing that really changed everything about how I lead. From going from sort of questioning myself to feeling imposter syndrome to, not knowing what my voice was about. And then discovering how coaching can totally change the results of your team and open up their capability. And then starting to see that play out, like the next best thing is, how do we develop that in every leader? Like, I am so thrilled that you are on that journey yourself.
Yeah, it's like scaling your product only in a way. It's like you're scaling your skills, scaling your brand, your presence, how you show up, and your attitudes towards your work, and how that kind of reframes how outcomes come to be from the positive way of your thinking and the structure that you bring to the table through the thought exercises that you help construct. I just found super helpful, and I'm like, I want to know how to do that.
Yeah,
I want to be able to coach.
Desire.
Yeah, I don't want to just tell people what to do and solve their problems. Like, oh my God, if they could just do this for themselves. I mean, and when you see it happen, it's kind of magical. And I think that's what's so inspiring about it, honestly.
Yeah. And I think there's so much that we all have to learn from each other, and then also just to become more and more fluent in coaching. And so the desire there is to really practice together and to learn together and to make it a safe space where we might be terrible at coaching at the beginning. Like, we might just fumble all over ourselves, give advice all day long, whatever that is. But that's okay, because that's where we all start. And so being able to say, hey, we can come and do it together. We can come and practice together. We can try it on each other. Like, this is a place where you don't have to perform. You can learn new skills and then go back and feel more confident with your teams.
That nails it on the head right there. Yeah, I can't improve upon that. That's perfect. Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about LinkedIn, and I just really love this story. So would you talk about, so you went to a training that we had as part of the membership, and you learned a little bit more about LinkedIn and the importance of building your brand. Can you talk about just what changed after you went through that training?
I loved it. Was a talk on LinkedIn, and she was talking about, I don't think it was our Unstuck one. It was about like being less ick or something like that, which really resonated with me, is like, because that's, as me as an individual, self-proclaimed, introvert, as is, people may not know, most people are introverts, in fact. Anyway, so for most of us, it creates ick. The thought of putting ourselves out there, you have these thoughts about like ridicule. Oh, great, I'm going to open up a can of worms and have a debate online in front of all my colleagues. Or, I'm going to put myself out there and like talk about myself as an expert when I know all these other people that are on LinkedIn also that know more about some things than me. But you know what? You come to realize that like all of us have expertise and knowledge, and Though, yeah, sure, there are people that are above us and that we've worked with that are maybe know some of this stuff better than we do. Most people don't know this stuff. We're kind of in our own bubble. And there's a lot of people that can benefit from hearing the things that we have to say and things like that. But when I heard that message and those types of messages, it didn't really resonate with me because that's not something I was super concerned about. But like my goal at the time was just like, gosh darn it. Through all of my research that I've had, it's become clearer and clearer that these days, like you need to own your brand. Those people that are designers and maybe UX experts know what that means. It's not just a logo. It's everything that's associated with it, down to the communications and the visuals, how you show up, where you show up, all of that stuff. It's your reputation. And you need to manage that now. We are in a high demand market now, and we need to show up, and we need to show up in the places that matter. And in our industry, and at least for my industry, that place is on LinkedIn. But yeah, the thought of going out there and saying something so publicly as if I'm like an expert and everyone should listen to me was like horrifying. I'm like, that's just not who I am. I'm sorry. That's not.
Yeah.
So the thought of going to the seminar and learning about like, how do I do this without feeling so icky sounded spot on. And in a matter of minutes, it became really clear that I saw some things that aligned with some of my own personal research, which was like things where I was reading or things I had learned in another seminar. I've been investing a lot of time on my own personal development and education. So in all this stuff, I've gotten tips here and tips there and, kind of trying to piece this all together. And I can update a profile. That's pretty painless. And so understanding the value of like what happens when you do invest in your brand. And when I say, what does that look like? That looks like posting on LinkedIn once every 2 weeks. That's all you got to do. But still, if you're feeling that ick like I was, I had written something and I had it sitting on my dock, just like sitting there, not going posted until after that talk. I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm refining this. I refined it a couple of times. I posted it and here it goes. And holy smokes, I couldn't believe what happened. The previous week, I just posted about, sending my kid to school. That got a lot of emotional reactions. The next week, I talked a little bit about my industry. I got some reactions. The next talk I did about like AI and how you need to just put a little AI on everything, because that just seems to be all people are interested in these days is AI this, AI that. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk a little bit about what that feels like and also a little bit about what I just read in this article. And so I started to get a sense for like, what do I like talking about? Or what am I already doing that I could write about that's going to be a lot more frictionless, I guess. And I think that was the secret recipe for me to like really turn the tide. And by the third week in a row that I had posted, I'm ambitious, right? And we're only supposed to do this like once every 2 weeks, not supposed to, but at minimum once every 2 weeks. I wanted to see what I could do if I could do it every week. And so by my third week, I just couldn't believe what happened. It almost seemed like all at once, I got contacted by recruiters. I got contacted by not just recruiters from outside of the country who are just trying to make a profit on trying to place people. I'm talking about direct recruiters at the companies that are doing like direct hires. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, how did this happen? I got contacted by two very well-known companies and had like phone screens with them. Those have both gone well. Moving on to the next stage, and so it's just like, this is incredible. And I also got contacted about contract opportunities, and not just contract opportunities from companies outside the country trying to make a profit again, recruiting people in America and connecting people. But like, these are, again, a guy I had worked with probably 20 years ago. He was a terrific entrepreneur. We were both entrepreneurs at the time. He's still highly successful. He's an advisor now to other businesses, and one of the companies he advises for is really taking off. And he saw one of my posts on LinkedIn and had one of his people at his company, or one of the people he advises for, one of the companies he advises for, contact me. And now we're talking about like freelance and contract opportunities. And so all of this is to say is like, ew, ick, but also like, look at what you get back. And all of a sudden, my attitude is starting to change now about having to do this type of stuff. It's feeling less icky. I found the things I'm already doing and the things I already like that I could post about that are somewhat related to my work. And I love analogies. I love metaphors. I'm very visual in the way I talk about things. And so that kind of shows up in, my just put some AI on it, salt shaker post on LinkedIn. And that resonated with, I couldn't believe the amount of people that talked about like how much they loved that image. But it demonstrated I knew how to use new technology. I can use it in a fun, original way to communicate a message and talk about something newsworthy, and was engaging, and I liked doing it. I actually couldn't wait to see like what happened the next day. I was such a nerd.
Isn't that fun? So the thing that you were dreading the most, putting yourself out there, oh my gosh, I'm going to hear crickets, or I'm going to get negative feedback, or I'm going to get spammed, or all the trolls from the, underworld are going to come and attack my post. And it's like fascinating how even if one or two exist, it's like the vast majority of people in your community are so glad to hear from you.
You would not believe it. A buddy of mine just lost his job last month. I spoke to him this morning, just talking, giving him like some tips that I think might be helpful for him. And my gosh, he talked about how the reason why I even contacted him is because he posted on LinkedIn, and he doesn't do that. He got an enormous response to his post about his, true struggle or whatever. And the amount of support that he got online, I had, I DM'd him. We talked this morning, like the next morning, and we started talking about like a project that he's working on and like something that he's kicking up. And he's talking about like how he dreads posting on LinkedIn, but he can't believe like what a response he got. And he's having a similar result to what I had. He has a huge network, but people are reaching out from the woodwork being like, hey, I loved working with you. You know what? Like, if those people don't know, have something going on, they know somebody else who does, and they want to refer you. And if you have a big network, I mean, that's pretty powerful. And that's kind of how it manifested for me.
And even if you have a small network, it is still powerful because those 2 or 3 people know 5 or 10 other people, to your point. And I think that there is just so much beauty in the community, and we forget how valuable that community is. I mean, these are real people on the other end, like you said, who worked with you, who know of you, who have maybe seen your journey along the years, and, they want to be with you on this journey. And I think sometimes we self-isolate without even realizing the impact and just what you were able to do through your posts. And piggybacking off of a really great article and putting your own point of view is a very, very smart way to do it. But you're also able to show your capabilities, like your design, your creativity, your strategic thinking, like all of those things from a thought leadership standpoint were manifest in just a few posts. And so it is so powerful. And I think the type of things that you're learning and investing in, you're seeing immediate results, right? And for a job seeker, that's incredible. But whether or not you're a job seeker, like all of those benefits still apply.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a surprising experience. And to come out on the other side of it and be like, oh my God, why was I fearing that so much? And why did I wait so long?
Yeah. It was like you were waiting to jump in the ocean and it was a puddle, like 1 inch deep. You're like, oh, you do this?
Right. You're like, I made this out to be like so much worse than it is. But it feels so gross on the other side of it. And it's like, it almost feels like as exciting as updating your resume. You're like, oh dear God, for the 100th time. But like, it won't be like, that's just it. Like, get out, you got to get out beyond the resume and explore those other avenues that are available to you. And, what are you driving that traffic to? What are people looking at? And how do you show up well and target the right audience? Are you using their vocabulary? Is it familiar? Are you going to draw a connection with the audience that is going to be viewing your profile? Because these days, this is where, when people are talking about work, this is one of the major platforms for doing it. And fortunately, we had an expert to be able to come on board and tell this whole community how to do it. And as a community, we were able to, ask, silly questions and, get some real clarity on it. And also to realize, like, hey, you're not alone. And in fact, I have something I'm working on currently that I plan to share this week in the community. I'm curious to get people's...
Ooh, I can't wait.
I want to be a better coach, manager, person who helps other people. Put whatever title on that you want. But I'm fascinated by the CFI program, the coaching certification program, mostly entranced by the way it can transform people and their thinking. I want to be able to do that for other people. I help people for free on ADP lists. And I always come out of those conversations being like, you know what, they really liked my help. They appreciated my help, but could I have been more helpful? Did I really empower them to do this for themselves in the future? Or are they going to be dependent on just looking for feedback all the time? Are we giving them a person to fish, or are we teaching them how to fish? And I think that's the power of coaching. And if you can learn that, and if you're supported by a community of people who are also interested in, developing each other as leaders, whether you're pursuing coaching or not, just being better leaders. What a great community to be a part of, to do something like that.
Speaking of coaching, so you are part of our group coaching call as well. So we have, in the membership, we have a monthly live group coaching event. So I was just curious if you could talk for just a moment about what that was like.
So it was a good experience. I felt like it was very well structured, with very thought-provoking thought exercises and times of reflection. It was almost like helping us realize more deeply the problems. I'm trying to talk about this maybe a little too abstractly, but it's almost like a group session where everybody's able to really work through these topics together in a structured way. And be able to raise questions as they come up and get clarity, and still really reap the benefits of good coaching. Granted, it's not on, one-on-one, but you still get a great amount of structure in doing it. But there's also something also beneficial that you may not get from a one-on-one session, which is part of that community feel, which is you realize wow, you know what, guys? It's not just me. It's we're all trying to learn this stuff, and learning how to show up, or learning how to be a better leader, or how to, institute this stuff, or define your brand, or whatever it is. You're doing it as a team, and kind of seeing how, what those building blocks are, and how to leverage some of those building blocks to kind of get you to the next step. And it's a step-by-step process. And, one of the members of our team was very open recently about his experience and how he feels about things. And actually, there's quite a bit of that, actually. And it is just more of a real kind of, it's touching, I guess, is what I would say. It's almost like those experiences when people talk about how small the earth is in the grand scheme of things in the universe, and you start to feel this deeper connection and relevance to the things around you. Is that's kind of how I felt about having these open conversations in front of this group, realizing wow, we're all connected. We're all going through a shared experience in a way in this world, whether you're, like I said, trying to become a better manager in your workplace, or, hey, I'm a new manager, but I'm trying to, I'm expected to learn these new skills that, we haven't had to rely on before. And so there's I had my regular demands before, but now I have to do these other demands also. How do I handle that? And it makes me feel this way. And how do I conquer that? And you get the benefit of also learning from other people's stories. What a great way to learn. Like, we all don't have to suffer in silence. We can actually like learn from one another or be like, you know what? This one thing really worked for me. You should try blah. And then you follow up afterwards in the community. Hey, how did it go? I mean, that's great.
Yeah. And I think, like the example you were talking about, where maybe one person felt like, hey, I have this impossible struggle. I feel so stuck right now. Like, I don't see the path or I don't know how. And then just hearing someone else in the community say, I am not moving forward in that kind of thinking anymore. I am choosing this instead. I am choosing to rewrite the next season of my career, and it is going to be on my terms, and that is going to be different, and I'm going to measure my own value instead of letting other people measure my value. And just the emotional reaction that can have from someone who is in the thick of it and is like, oh my goodness, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that today.
And maybe that's maybe that's the word I was trying to look for, is perspective, right? Like getting like real clear perspective, and the way that can help shape some of your decision making for the better. Because I think when we're in our own struggles in our lives, we're not making the best decisions. We're not in the best condition to make the best decisions, but we try. But then, to have support by a community of other people who have some very like relevant professional experience, that maybe to have people like that to talk to when you can't maybe talk to your spouse to unload because they don't
Yeah.
understand your industry, or they just like, they may hear it and be like,
why are
that
you
sounds
complaining?
right. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now, but it sounds bad, but I hope it gets better for you. To have a group of people, like real professionals, to like be like, here's how I navigated this situation, or here's another way you can look at it. That's like just so wow. And like I said, I mean, people don't talk about that on LinkedIn, right?
Well, there's so many things you can't talk about on LinkedIn. Like, you can't talk about, I feel burned out at my job and I want to quit. You can't talk about, I have someone in a performance plan on my team and I want to try and figure out like the most graceful way to end this thing. I mean, you can't talk about like, I have to make some tough decisions around funding and headcount and I'm struggling with it and it's hard. And, like, there's so many things that are off limits when you're in the public forum. But when you can have kind of a safe space where you can process some things and just get other, like you said, other peers who are like, oh yeah, I've been there. I've dealt with that. Here's one thing that worked for me, or here's a question to ask yourself. I just think that is pure gold.
Oh my gosh. And having, getting that type of information can reduce so much anxiety for people who are really suffering, thinking about the future and worrying about the future. One of the things that I've been found really helpful is to, there's been analogies shared by Simon Sinek at something recently where he talked about staying focused on the path. If we take a look at, a skier going down a hill, racing through a forest of trees, he's not looking at the trees. He's not looking at all the obstacles. He's looking at the path. And I think that's a great analogy for, and I think the other analogy is airline pilots, right? They're told to not look at the mountains, right? We can't think in the negative. You can't say, don't look at the mountain, because all you're going to see is mountain. Don't think about elephants.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Just thought of elephants, but I think when we focus on the path, having a plan, knowing how to show up, getting reassurance that the things that you're doing are actually well thought out ideas and recipes for success that have been vetted by other people, other professionals who maybe even do some of this stuff for a living. We got inside information on how to show up as a better brand online from a brand expert through the community. And that was terrific. It really panned out for me. And it's that type of stuff, I think, that really creates value. And because it's such a black box, all of this, to go at this alone in this like tough community. I mean, there's people I've spoken to and I'm mentoring / coaching where I can coach, and then mostly mentoring and providing advice for other professionals who are currently working and just hating their jobs right now, or feeling incompetent, feeling that kind of imposter syndrome. But if you're in a community, it helps you kind of get out of this like thinking. It gives you more perspective, like we were talking about. And that changes attitudes, and those attitudes help us make better decisions. If we have better attitudes, we make better decisions. People want to work with us. It's a chain domino effect of benefits. And so got to invest in that.
Just look at the impact that not only you are invested in the community and you're learning, but then you are then translating and giving that back to so many other people through your mentorship at ADP List and other places. Like, you're able to take that immediately and apply it. And so then there's this ripple effect. There's a ripple effect of each moment you're investing in yourself and changing your thinking and changing your beliefs about what's possible and changing your actions on LinkedIn. All of those things. I mean, you just listed a whole bunch of examples of other people who have now benefited from that. And I just think that's beautiful. And it's the natural effect of investing in something like this. Like, it just amplifies everything else that you're doing.
It really does. It can feel a struggle, whether you feel trapped in a job or trapped outside of a job. Either side of the fence, the struggle is there. There's a lot of demands on people these days, and it's so easy to feel either worthless or not up to par, meeting expectations, or just completely overwhelmed. And so, like, having a safe place to go to where you can talk about these things without worrying about any kind of real negative implications, because, like, hey, they don't know the people I work with, and we're all here. Like, I know that person's struggle. They know my struggle. It's part of like how we introduce ourselves, is talking about like why we're here, what we're looking for, what we can contribute, and what we hope to get back. Those types of things make it really clear. And yeah, I just found it so helpful. I'm so glad that you set this up. Yeah, I love being a part of it. And I can't wait to contribute next week. I'm looking to get everybody's feedback on something.
We can't wait to hear your big idea now. I'm super curious. So if you were to maybe wrap up your experience in a nutshell, just what would you say overall has been the impact on your thinking, your career so far?
Yeah, it's definitely had an impact. I've talked briefly about the chain effect that positive thinking and focus on a path and not being in the struggle alone, having the opportunity to gain insights and guidance from experts who do the things that we need to do in today's world to show up and bring a powerful brand presence online is really necessary, because we're in charge of our own brand. We're in charge of how we show up at work in front of our people. It's important to be able to summarize, who we are, what we do, and what we stand for. And that has a grand effect on driving and attracting good outcomes, whether it be like with people or how we perform or the approaches that we take in helping scale our people or finding jobs online and making connections. It's the benefits of getting career coaching on a subscription level that's also supported by community and materials that allow people to work at their own pace. It's low commitment, but high benefit. And it's a place where you feel safe asking what might otherwise feel stupid questions. And you get some like really great answers. And so I've just been really happy to be a part of it. And I've seen, it's great to see my phone ringing and email bouncing with invites from recruiters to talk about new opportunities. It had been dead silent for about 6 months. And, I did this very simple thing, followed a very simple recipe. And I was just hit a button and said like, all right, here it goes. And I just couldn't believe what happened.
Yeah, I would say a few things. You really shifted your approach to LinkedIn as a storefront. So you really set it up for success. You invested some time to make that look really professional. You came up with some really nice posts that were thoughtful. So you spent some time following the plan and then doing it. And then I would, say, I think there was a mindset shift in general, because I think before there was kind of a blocked energy about, are there actually any opportunities out there for me? Are there am I the right fit? Is this skill set the right fit? A lot of self-doubt. And what I've noticed is that through the course of these events and then seeing some wins and some momentum built from, really investing time on LinkedIn and reaching out and having this outward focus, there's just this renewed sense of belief. A belief in yourself, belief in what's possible, belief in suddenly you are helping everyone around you. The energy is just contagious. And so I think so many things that I have just seen from the outside that have shifted have been both in your actions, but also, how you approach the situation from a mindset perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really almost day and night. I have much more energy somehow from doing this stuff. As much as I hated doing it before, I'm kind of in this mode now where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about next? And I have a little notepad of, ideas of things I could talk about. And again, I've taken off the pressure of myself. I don't have to put myself out there as the all-knowing oracle that knows everything about everything. Because quite frankly, we're all out here trying to figure it out. And when
Yeah.
people see that we're all just, excited about a particular event or those places where we have connections, whether they're experiences or events or places or what have you. One of them, like I said, was just sending my kid off to college. Just talking about that drew a lot of activity. And I made connections with, like I said, with people I haven't spoken to in years. And that's leading to new opportunities. And my God, that was so much easier than updating a resume.
Who knew?
I know. Oh, unbelievable.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to tell your story and to share some of your wins, some of the things that have been following from some of the actions that you took and just the time and energy you invested in the community. So we're so thankful to have you as part of the community. You just epitomize the value of, who you can find in the space and the types of things you can learn and do in a short period of time. I mean, it's only been, a couple months? I think that's it.
I think it's only
So
been a
all
couple
of this
months.
momentum happened in a couple months for you. So
Yeah.
congratulations. And, I can't wait to see what's next. And for anybody, I guess, who might be interested in joining the community and Brian and all of us on the inside, you can find out more at worthytolead.co/member. And we'll continue to post updates there. We'll continue to invite you in, but the membership is officially open. So we would love to have you join us. And I guess any parting words, Brian?
Oh my gosh. Only, just do it. I think it's a terrific investment. I'm looking forward to seeing people join and share experiences. And I think, all the people here are also interested in helping other people, which is fantastic. And it's just amazing to see how this has taken off and the benefits are obvious. So, yeah, I'm excited to see everyone and hear your stories and perhaps lend a helping hand. So, hope to see you there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, my pleasure, of course.
Thank you so much to Brian Collins for being brave and vulnerable and coming on my podcast and sharing his story about his experience in the community. And he's not alone. There have been many who have started to see value within the first couple of months of just having access to this group of amazing human-centered leaders and also some of the resources to support your leadership. He mentioned the LinkedIn training. There are many different kinds of training around leadership and leadership skills and developing yourself as a leader and that self-confidence. And then there's also information about coaching. How can you start to adopt coaching skills as a leader? What does that even look like? And how can you start practicing that? We have something for everyone, to be honest. We have live trainings, we have bingeable modules that you can watch on your own time, and we have downloadable resources that you can use with your teams. So this is meant to be a very flexible membership, and we know how busy you are. So there's no requirement for how much time you spend here. You don't have to take attendance. Nobody is going to blame you if you have to check out for a couple weeks. just come and take what serves you, to be honest. That is the goal of creating this community. And so there may be seasons where you want to really lean in, like Brian, and you want to get connected with people and you want to find opportunities and you want to really polish your external brand as a leader. And maybe there's other times where you want to lean back and you just want to do some self-reflection. Or maybe you want to jump into the group coaching to figure out how to get unstuck or to figure out how to break through something that you're really struggling with. And so no matter where you're at in your leadership journey, there are resources that are for various stages. So I hope that you'll come and check it out. We are so excited to offer this now to everyone. You can find out more at worthytolead.co/member. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave us a review and share it with any friends that need to hear these messages. Until next time, keep showing up, keep doing the work that matters, and keep leading like you're worthy to lead. Because you are. Bye for now.